Hey everybody, today we're going to start building the TT-02T sand shaker kit, and it's going to be very similar to your standard TT-02. So if you've seen me build one of the TT-02s before, it's going to be very similar, but I'm going to be building it from start to finish as usual, just in case anybody new is just joining us for the first time. Speaking of new, if you are new to the channel, I build these Tamiya kits and other kits step by step, and I show you how to do it, help you along just in case you have any trouble. So subscribe for more. Okay, as usual, the first step is always, if you're new to this, go ahead and read the whole manual front to back. Catch any kind of nuances, and there's English everywhere. So if that's your primary language, there's also Japanese. I believe that's French as well. This kit, the sand shaker, is going to be the standard 257mm wheelbase, and it's going to have the high clearance. So we're going to be building this just a little bit differently than other TT-02 kits I've built in the past, but everything else should be just the same. So I always start off by looking at the steps and figuring out what we need. Step one is just a specification. Step two, we already talked about the wheelbase. And then you're going to go ahead and charge the battery. They always assume you're going to build this all in one day. So if you have a trickle charger and a nickel metal hydride battery, you want to start charging, because it's going to take like 8 hours to charge this. So, and step three, we're actually going to start building. We need this MA7 pin and plastic bearings. And if you didn't buy bearings, you're going to be using this bag right here. And if you didn't buy bearings, go ahead and watch my video, top 5 things that you need to buy to go with your Tamiya RC kit. But I went ahead and bought bearings as usual. Let me get these open. And I know I'm going to need a few of them for the first steps here. You need to find this bevel gear, and these gears, the spur gear and all these parts right here, these 4 parts, were all in the same bag. The propeller joints and the propeller was on a tree by itself. And the bearings, of course, were in this bag. And the screws that you're going to need later on in this step and this pin right here were all in the A bag. And you just have to look for them. The pin was kind of a little bit hard to find, but if you look for the black pinion gear, you'll find it there. And these are pretty common. These are everywhere. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the only thing you need for this build was your flush cutters to get the parts off the parts tree, and a little bit of grease. This is included in the kit. I have an old one from the last build, so I'm going to finish using that. And step 3 here calls for taking this propeller joint, putting a little bit of grease right here. Actually, I'm going to skip that step. If you're using the plastic bushings, go ahead and do that. I'm using ball bearings. I'm not going to need to grease there, as well as grease the bearings. I will go ahead and put some grease right there, because that is rubbing up against, that's going to be right here, possibly rubbing up against the bearing. Okay, all I'm going to do is put the pin there and make sure it lines up like so. And then I'm going to take the spur gear, and before I put it in, I'm going to put some grease right there. But the spur gear on this side has a notch. That's the side you want to go towards that pin right there. So it's asking for some grease right where the spur gear is going to be. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spread some right there, like so. Again, side with the notch, and push it up against that pin and make sure it sets all the way in. So make sure your spur gear goes all the way touching that piece right there. Okay, then we're going to put another bearing. Again, if you're using bushing, go ahead and grease that, and then put the bevel gear behind that. And we're going to hold on to this, put it aside. I'm going to be setting it into the chassis a little bit later on. The next step, we're going to take the other propeller joint. Again, we need the bearings. Okay, we're going to take the other propeller joint and put 2 bearings on there. Again, if you're using plastic bearings, please put some grease where it's indicated, right there and there. Going to put the other bevel gear there. And now we're going to connect everything. First, I'm going to take one end of the propeller shaft or drive shaft and put that into one joint and put the other side onto the spur gear. And then we're going to set this in there, lining up the bearings. The bearing is going to sit in that notch right here. And on this side is going to sit on those 2 notches, and make sure the bevel gear stays attached. And like so, want to make sure the bearings are resting in the right place. So let me get in close. So the bearing rests in here and here in the front of the chassis, and in the back you want to make sure it's resting in that notch and that notch right there. And then we're going to go ahead and close this up so it doesn't fall out, and it's just easy enough. This is a bearing cover, covers that bearing right there. There's 2 MA2 screws, and it's standard Phillips head screws, so you don't need any special tools there. Go ahead and tighten that down. And if you're continuing to build, go ahead and put grease here in the bevel gears and the spur gear and the front bevel gear as well. I am going to keep making this video, but I'm not going to put the grease on just yet because I usually tend to rub stuff on here and grease get all over the place. But that's it. We're going to finish the first steps here. We completed steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In the next video, we're going to be working on the diffs. This is going to be the rear diff, front diff, and then we're going to install the arms, close up the gearbox, and we're going to stop at step 10 in the next video. But thanks for watching this video. We're building the TT-02T sand shaker kit. Hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a thumbs up. Subscribe for more. Continue watching this build series. And I'll see you guys in the next one.